Yeah,
Okay, we're live. That's my son Patrick, and he's helping me set this up. He was just telling me we're on here the wrong way, but we're not. We're on here right.
No, you're fine now.
Okay, Patrick. So this is these are my kids behind me when they were little, and that's my son.
You're waiting for someone, aren't you?
I know, but first I'm still live, right?
Yeah, you're live.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick. So welcome, everybody. We're going to be joined in just a minute or two by a good friend of mine. Patrick, can you stop?
Huh?
Patrick is bouncing his coffee cup. But Rabbi Leder is going to join us in just a few minutes to talk about how we can build community, how we can have compassion for each other, how we can have empathy, and maybe it's a chance to connect with our fellow neighbors, even though they might not be our neighbor across the street, but our neighbor in every sense of the word, to see what they need and how we can be supportive. We thought this was a good time because on the East Coast, people are kind of getting ready for dinner, and they're kind of in for the night. We're all supposed to kind of be in for the day and the night. And we're just going to try this over the next couple of days. A lot of people have called me and said, let's have a live conversation. My brother Timmy for tomorrow wanted to share some prayers from different faith leaders. I thought we could, as we wait for Rabbi Leder, this is one of the great quotes that I read every day from a book. It's called The Gratitude Book, and the world of the future is our making. Tomorrow is now. That's from Eleanor Roosevelt. And I think that's really apropos to where we all are today. The future is our making. Tomorrow is now. And we're in the now in every sense of the word. Patrick is looking for Rabbi Leder so he can join us. Johnny Lowe is there. Hi. Hi, Johnny. He's a great friend of Patrick's. And I want to hear from all of you about how you're feeling, how you feel you're doing. What do you think would help you at this moment in time? I did a Sunday evening reminder last night, and many of you said, let's do these all the time as much as we can so we stay together.
Scoot over so I can
scoot
check
over.
This thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Patrick helping me trying to find Rabbi Leder, and I want to thank all of the kind comments that are coming through here in this community. And I want to know from you, what do you need? I know many of you are scared about losing your job, what's going to happen. And I think what I think is important that we're all going to be in this together. Obviously, some people have larger savings than others, and I think we're all going to work towards understanding that those who live paycheck to paycheck, who have kids at home, need our help. And we're going to rally together to find out how we can help each other. And so we're trying to figure out this live thing. I'm sorry. Patrick is doing this.
Who am I looking for?
You're looking for Rabbi Steve Leder, who's on here. Rabbi Leder, wherever you are, please let us know where you are so we can...
Steve Leder?
Yep.
Rabbi Steve Leder, that is. I don't see him on my thing.
Okay, Rabbi Leder, if you're there, great. If you're not, I don't know where you are. So Rabbi Leder wrote a really beautiful book about the struggles of life that I really enjoyed reading, and how we can all learn from struggles. And so he was open to having this conversation today because he felt that there was a lot he could offer to all of us, not just people who go to his synagogue, but people of all faiths, because many people said that they couldn't.
No, it wasn't live. It wasn't live. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, 1 second. I don't do these Instagram things much, so I don't know how. Or I don't see him. Let's see. Requests. Viewers. Oops. He may need to send you a request, someone says.
Okay.
Okay. Rabbi, if you're on this.
Request us. Request us. I love that. Do this daily, Maria. We need fellowship. You're absolutely right. We do need fellowship, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm concerned. Woman just said, I'm very concerned about the elderly. I am too. So much of my work has been with the elderly, those who have Alzheimer's, those who need caregivers. I think this has brought that whole discussion to the forefront about how do we care for those of us who have gone before, those who have sacrificed so much on our behalf. My son is organizing this.
He's trying
to organize this, so maybe
he's not on.
Okay, Patrick. Well, why don't you and I talk?
Why don't you do it?
Okay, I'll just talk myself. You'll talk. Okay. So let's see here. Others. Hi from Canada. Hi, Helene from Canada. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your support up there. And we hope you're staying safe up in Canada. We're all in this together. I think that's such an important thing to know. I was happy to see that so many of the leaders got together from around the world, got together on a phone call today to talk about what we needed to do on a global basis, because this is a global epidemic. We're all dependent and we're all connected. And I think this makes that very clear, how dependent and connected we all actually really are. I tried to write about that in yesterday's Sunday paper, that I hope that the radical change that this brings about will be a radical change in how we view each other and how we all begin to understand how connected we really are. So, okay, so here Dana Saint to Monica said, Maria, you talk while he works. It's fine. He just left the room. That's the way 26-year-olds are, but he's actually been really great. He's living here with me, making sure I have my vitamins and that I do everything to keep myself healthy. I think that's one of the beautiful things that you learn about your family, is that they really do care about you. My brothers called to check in on me. From Cape Cod. There you go, Conroy. Thank you so much for joining from Cape Cod. New law for schools being closed. I know this is a really tough time for so many parents who work to have kids at home. We also remember that so many kids get their meals at schools. So that's also super important. I spoke with the governor of California today about thinking about how we can all be of service to our state and to our fellow human beings. Okay, Patrick is now back. Patrick is he's back, and everybody said to me, just keep talking while Patrick figures it out. So that's what I'm trying to do. This is we
have it figured out, but we don't have this someone tuning
Patrick,
in.
so say hello. Patrick did a really great video that I put up on my Instagram page the other day about how a woman offered you a roll of toilet paper in the market.
Okay, let's see if he's
right,
on.
Patrick?
Yes, exactly. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that story about how I thought how gracious. You said you felt she was an older woman.
Oh, here, Rabbi Steve Leder.
And I said, how old was she, Patrick? He goes, fine. I said, she said, well, kind of about your age.
Let's see, waiting for Rabbi Steve.
Okay.
Steve declined.
Rabbi Leder declined. He declined to come on and talk to me?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. That's not possible. He's not that kind of a guy.
Okay.
No, that's impossible. Rabbi Leder would never decline me.
Let's try again.
Okay, so where did he go?
You.
Rabbi Leder, wherever you are.
Rabbi Leder, where are you?
Where are you?
Alligator.
Where is Rabbi Leder?
He is now no longer on here.
He's not on here? Okay. Well, then I'm just going to go ahead without Rabbi Leder, okay?
Okay, let's see.
And I'm going to...
Oh, here, he's back.
He's back?
He's back for a second.
Okay.
Waiting.
Hi from Bulgaria. Is that Rabbi Leder?
We did it.
Oh, my gosh.
We did it.
Oh, there's Rabbi Leder. Oh, my gosh. Patrick, bravo.
Hi, Maria.
Hi, Rabbi Leder. Oh, my goodness. We couldn't find you anywhere.
I had so much trouble. I'm sorry. You know, there are a few really good things about this virus, and one of them is it's forcing me to become more adept technologically.
Well, I don't know. We can't. Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess that would be an interesting place, although people don't think of this as being a good thing by any stretch of the imagination. I thought that we could begin. One of the books, Rabbi Leder, that I have read and keep by my bedside is a book by Pema Chodron, and it's called When Things Fall Apart.
Fall Apart, yes.
One of my favorite books. If you people out there have not read it, I would really encourage you to pick it up or download it, or because it's a really great book. And I wanted to read something from it today that could maybe jumpstart our conversation.
Sure.
So the next time you encounter fear, consider yourself lucky. This is where the courage comes in. Usually we think that brave people have no fear. The truth is that they are intimate with fear. She said, when I was first married, my husband said I was one of the bravest people he knew. When I asked him why, he said, because I was a complete coward, but went ahead and did things anyway. So she was saying the trick is to keep exploring, not bail out on fear. And I think, Rabbi, there's so many people who are afraid right now. They're anxious. Yes. They're worried about losing their income. So many Americans live paycheck to paycheck. So many people have their kids now at home. There's no school. So many people depend on school not only to teach their kids, but to also feed their kids. So what do you think is the best thing that we can do to bring our communities together right now?
I think the single best thing we can do when we're in a fearful place is to keep ourselves on a very short time leash. And what I mean by that is, when you find yourself catastrophizing about the future, which is a very natural thing to do, and projecting out days, weeks, months in advance and creating frightening nightmare scenarios for yourself, pull yourself back to a more productive and meaningful way of thinking and behaving, which is the following. What should I be doing in the next hour that is meaningful and productive to me and the people I love? Just pull yourself back from the edge of that cliff over and over and over again. Now, Maria, I don't have any illusions about human nature, yours, mine, or anyone else's. We all catastrophize the future. But if we can do that even 10% less as we go through this together, it's going to make a tremendous difference. I'm going to show you something since you brought this up.
I just want to mention, a lot of people are asking me what was the name of the book that I just read.
Oh, yeah.
And the book is called When Things Fall Apart.
Fall Apart.
It's by Pema Chodron, who's a very famous Buddhist nun. And I was reading from her book. It's a book I've read a couple of times. And that's the thing about books, even though you've read them once, you're different. So you can go back to them over and over again and you'll get different things out of them. So that's right. The name of the book. And so
let me show you something, Maria. I don't know if you can see this or not. I hope so. This is a little painting that a woman I visited in the hospital just a few days ago made for me. She's quoting something that I said in the book I wrote about getting through difficult, painful, and fearful times. And here's what it says: live with faith in the future and in yourself 1 hour at a time.
Right.
Now, she was in a very desperate circumstance. She said of all the things, that's what's helped her the most, is to just, and this is different than mindfulness. This is different than being in the present. This is about, breaking time down into a manageable thing that you actually can control. There's so much about this we can't control. We can't control the next hour. And I would also urge people to remember that just because you are afraid does not mean you are in danger. Being afraid and being in danger are not always the same thing.
I think that's a really good point. And even for some people, taking it one day at a time is too much. So I think your advice about taking it 1 hour at a time. What do people, though, who are can't go to work and who are living paycheck to paycheck, who have their kids at home, that may sound kind of all in good to them, but they're really worried about, wait a second, I'm not going to maybe have food. I don't have a job. I don't know how long this is going to go. So
within that hour, then, a productive thing to do would be to start reaching out. You know, there's a saying in the Talmud that says the prisoner cannot free himself. You have to reach out. Now, this isolation makes it more difficult, but I can tell you our synagogue is gearing up in a big way to get food to people who need it. Food, diapers, baby formula.
So how could people join that? Might be in Los Angeles. So many people have asked me, like, I want to be of service. I want to help. And I spoke with the governor this morning, and we're looking at ways to kind of activate.
We've lost. Go ahead. Sorry, I lost you.
That was Hoda calling.
Say hi.
We've lost this. We have this great citizen corps that we can activate, kind of like, you know, the Rosie Riveters were activated. And so how can people help you who might be in the Los Angeles area?
People can go on Wilshire Boulevard Temple's website and look for the Karsh Family Social Services Center. And we'll have information there about how people can help. We want to do this course, but wherever you are in the country, wherever you are in the world, reach out to your churches, reach out to your synagogues, reach out to your mosques, reach out to your family, reach out to your friends. We are going to get through this much better together than we are alone.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to do this conversation, to try to build a sense of community for people. And let me know out there, is this a good time? Do people want to do this later at night? Is this a good time to say a prayer together? Is this a good time to be in conversation together? Is this a good time?
There's no bad time for that. There's no bad time for that.
There's no bad time for that. So you wrote a book about kind of struggle and how kind of one's life can be more beautiful than before the moment that brings such fear. What's the best advice you could give to people about struggle and the aftermath of it?
Particularly now, I would tell people that it feels as if somehow this coronavirus crisis is unprecedented. Mm-hmm. And in a way that's true, but it's not true in all ways. Everyone who's watching right now, because they're human, has suffered, has been through a very difficult, painful experience, and somehow come out the other side of it. And all of the resources and all of the ability and all the courage and all the strength that you had the last time you faced down some very difficult demon has not abandoned you. Mm-hmm. It's with you. And you can call on those internal and external resources again. You know, the truth is, as frightening as this virus is, and it's very frightening because it's unknown, mm-hmm. we all have already absorbed into our lives and our psyches far more dangerous things that we've been doing every day of our adult lives. But because it's not new, we've learned to live with it. Getting on the freeway, for example, getting on an airplane, for example.
Walking. I was asking you to repeat the quote from the Talmud that you just said.
The prisoner cannot free himself.
The prisoner cannot free himself. And we're all, in a way, prisoners of our minds, right?
And our homes right now. We need to reach out to our friends and to our family and to our institutions that we care about. I've spent the entire day texting and emailing members of my congregation, and I'm going to continue to do that. Mm-hmm. But while the coronavirus is a new kind of crisis, I again want to reiterate that we have all learned to live with statistically more dangerous crises in our lives every day of our lives. We all get into our cars and get on the freeway. We get on airplanes. Mm-hmm. We walk into ICUs to visit people, and we found a way to learn to live and enjoy our lives, you know, integrating all of that into who we are and how we proceed in the world. Mm-hmm. And this will be no different. We will manage this, all of us. And not that any of what we will change as a result in our lives is worth this virus, but I'm here to tell you, this is not a worthless opportunity either. This is an opportunity to learn some new things and to double down on our relationships, to be kinder, to rely on some of the oldest, most important fundamental religious truths that we all know but often forget. Simple things like loving your neighbor as yourself, like not doing like treating others the way you would want to be treated.
My son shared this beautiful story about being in the supermarket over the weekend and standing in an aisle, and a woman coming up to him and asking him, was he looking for toilet paper? And he said, well, no. She goes, because I have 2 rolls and I want to give you one. Yes. And he was so touched by it. And I went over to visit. I have one neighbor across the street who's 97 years old, Hilda.
Wow.
And I live next to Magda, who's also in her 90s.
Yeah.
And these are both women on either side of me who have been through so much, who have seen so much, and who remind me that they're okay and that all will be okay. And that's, I think, a really hard thing for many people to take in at the moment. People struggling with kids at home, struggling with the unknown, or when is this going to end? And you said this is a chance to learn some really big truths. What's the biggest thing you've learned so far?
The biggest thing I've learned so far is the way in which a challenge can strip away a lot of nonsense from our lives. You know, I've been hitting cancel on so many meetings that at the end of the day, Maria, don't amount to very much.
Same here.
Right. And I hope that this is a lesson I'll remember going forward, because my time has not been treated like the precious commodity that it actually is. It hasn't been treated that way by me. And, you know, I'm taking this as an opportunity to reset a lot of things, and how I spend my time is one of them, and with whom I spend my time is another. So as I said, you know,
wrote in the Sunday paper, Rabbi Leder has written for the Sunday paper, our weekly free newsletter that you can sign up for, the idea of kind of that this would radically shift our conversations to what do I actually want, take it from
versus
want
need
to need. And
That's right.
Do I really need to go to all those meetings? Do I really need to travel? Do I spend money the way I do? Do I need to live at the pace that I'm living?
That's right.
Many people
and I'll tell you another one.
A slowed down life.
I'll tell you another one, Maria, which I think is really important.
Okay.
And I think will have lasting value for all of us. And that is, this is an opportunity to learn the difference.
I'm having a little trouble with, can you hear me? Can you still hear it? Rabbi Leder?
I'm here.
I think you're, oh, there you go. Now you're fixed.
So one of the most important things I think we can all take away from this,
I actually don't think we can hear.
I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong. Now I've lost you.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
Great. Go ahead.
So what I was saying was, I think one of the most important things we can take away from this is to remember this lesson we're all learning about the difference between a problem and an inconvenience.
Okay. Explain.
Because, well, being at home is an inconvenience. It's not a problem, right?
Well, for some people, it is a problem.
It's not the problem that people in the ICU on a respirator have. And let's get some perspective, okay?
Okay.
Let's all get a grip and get some perspective on how, and let's count our blessings even in the darkness. I think that's a very powerful way to live.
Let's count our blessings even in the darkness. Let's count. So speak now to that family who's at home, who just like their businesses have closed down, or they have a small business. I have several friends who have small businesses. Nobody has been in to buy anything.
Yes.
They're women-owned businesses. They're terrified that no one's going to come back. They don't know how they're going to make their rent. They can't afford to pay the people who work for them.
Yes.
Well, what do we do?
Well, one thing is, you know, you don't stay in denial, right? I do think people are going through the stages of grief right now, and there was a lot of denial at first, and now we're moving toward acceptance, and then we'll move toward healing. But now that we're through with the denial, it's time to call your landlord. It's time to, you know, hunker down, and it's time to have some faith in the people who you owe money to, that they're in no different situation than you are. And this is an opportunity for them to respond with some empathy, for you to respond with some empathy, for us all to take care of each other. And I'm a person of faith, including faith in human beings. I really believe most people are good at heart, and they're going to be willing to cut each other the slack that is required at this point. And at some point, our government will respond by suspending tax payments and mortgage payments and things like that. I think we're going to get there. We're pushing through the denial now. You know, we finally heard the president say this is bad. Well, you know, it's time for that. And we're pushing through the denial. There's going to be some grief, and then there's going to be some acceptance. And let's have some faith that we're going to take care of each other. We're not going to let our neighbors starve. We're not going to let that happen.
Okay, I think that that's a really great point for us to end on. And we're going to do this again. We're going to come back to this because it's going to be dark for a while. And people are going to feel like they can't find their new normal. So Rabbi Leder and I are going to reconvene.
We'll keep at it.
We're going to keep at it. We're going to keep taking questions. And a lot of the responses here have said this brought us together. This is really good. Oh, the sound is back. I guess it went out. So we're like incompetent. Several people here said, can we end with a prayer? So Rabbi Leder, can you lead us in a prayer to wrap this up?
Yes. My prayer is for all of us to have the strength to transcend our own fear 1 hour at a time. And for all of us to find faith within ourselves and our fellow human beings, that we will, as we have in the past, take care of each other. And may God bless us all.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Amen, Maria.
Amen.
Thank you for being on with me.
Thank you so much. Glad we kind of figured it out.
We got it done. Say hi to Hoda when you talk to her, okay? Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Patrick?